Good evening, Super Friends. It's Joey from Last Point Gaming. Today is still Tuesday, October 22nd, 2019. It's raining more than it was this morning, so again, this is going to be pretty shitty audio quality, and for that I apologize, but is what it is. So, this morning I talked about BNR announcement and my thoughts on whether it was warranted or not, you know, for whatever that's worth. And for this installment, I really want to focus on Pioneer, which, good God, it doesn't surprise me. Like, I want to act all surprised and appalled and like, oh my God, goddamn Magic players. But it doesn't surprise me that there's so much negativity surrounding this format already, and it hasn't even gone live on Moto yet. I'll start with the biggest complaint. Oh my God, it's gonna be all Saheeli Cat and Ra and jank combo and Ra. Well, actually not jank combo, but like really smooth efficient combos. So I kind of skimmed over the article where they actually announced the format. Just a little bit. Hadn't actually read it before. Just, you know, got the information, was like, this sounds awesome. So, they've stated that they're going to be aggressive with bans in the beginning. And, you know, keep in mind, this format's going to have some growing pains in the beginning. For fucking sure, I'm sure. You're going to see a lot of shit like Saheeli Cat in the beginning. Stuff that was so busted in Standard, it needed to get banned. But people tried doing Saheeli Cat in Modern for a hot minute. It didn't work. It couldn't stand up to Modern. Now, this card pool is shallower by, you know, a measurable amount of years, to be sure. So Saheeli Cat may end up being a problem. They may have to do something about it, because you don't have Path to Exile in this format. You don't have fetch lands to revolt for Fatal Push. I mean, you got Evolving Wilds and the new, like, rare Evolving Wilds, so there was that. Let's see here. So what answers do you have? You have Cast Down, Doomblade, you have Ruinous Path. You know what? Ruinous, or not, that's not what I'm thinking of. Hero's Downfall. Pretty sure Hero's Downfall is instant seed, but if not, you have the Hero's Downfall attached to the Murderous Rider from Eldraine. So there are more answers in this format than existed in Kaladesh. Well, in Kaladesh, or I guess it was Aether Revolt Standard. So, yeah, you have more answers, but you at the same time do not have the same amount of answers that you did with, oh dude, you got that one card, what was it called? Was it Hallowed Moonlight? It was the white instant. It was like 1 in a white, and if a creature entered the battlefield, or enters the battlefield this turn that isn't cast, destroy it, or something like that. You used to play it in response to Collected Company. So, again, there are answers, but they are somewhat color restrictive. You know, your best removals in black, your best, I guess, prevent them from even entering the battlefield is in white. But red's got, like, shock. So, you do have answers. There were answers in Standard at that time, too. The thing is good Saheeli Cat players didn't try to go off without a counterspell up. Because, yeah, you gotta protect that you got to protect the combo. We have Thoughtseize. People are really not excited about that. I'd rather see, personally, and I totally understand that this is because of the nature of the decks I play, would rather see Thoughtseize than Inquisition of Kozilek. Because, given the nature of the decks I play, they're about the same effect to me. I'd rather them take the hit of 2 life, personally. But I do play, super aggressive decks, so I can understand how people who play control or mid-range would rather see Inquisition than Thoughtseize. But in any case, none of that matters. So yeah, we do have a wider depth of answers to this problem, but is it enough? Do we have, the high-end answers that Modern has? That was the reason Saheeli Cat was barely a blip on the Modern radar. And these things will need to be determined. But just like I think that they maybe should have given the format a little more time to breathe with Standard, with Field of the Dead, you're going to have to give it time. You can't... you can, because this is America, and you can complain about whatever you want to complain, but the expectation that every time you're beat by a deck in a particularly one-sided manner, that they should ban something from that deck is kind of ludicrous. So, they've stated they're going to be aggressive about bans, and that in and of itself kind of makes me a little nervous. Like, how long are they going to give people a chance to respond to these decks before they say, oh, okay, this deck's topping the charts, gone. Now, they do have Moto data to mine, which gives them a more complete picture than just tournament results. Well, yes, maybe not more complete, but more constant. They'll get to see the Moto data daily, whereas tournaments, you gotta wait until there's tournaments of this format. So they're gonna keep an eye on it, but they didn't want to make the, depending on how you look at it, mistake they made with Modern, in that there was so many cards preemptively banned in that format that never had a chance. Like Jace and Nahiri, or not Nahiri, Stoneforge Mystic, were both banned in Modern before Modern became playable. It was determined that the Callblade deck was just too fucking much, and they weren't going to let it happen in this, brand new fledgling format. So now they're taking a different track and saying, you know what? Do the most broken thing you can do. Show us what you got. And we'll go from there. Which I know it's probably going to suck for the first, bit of playing this format, but I actually think this is a better way to go, because we've seen how hard it is to get cards off the ban list. Now, they seem to have become slightly more liberal about it since they first broke that seal. I guess it wasn't first. I guess Bitter Blossom was like the first card to be unbanned. What? Maybe not. I don't know. But it seems like they have been historically very reluctant to unban cards. So it's hard to make a case for why a card, is no longer the threat that it was when it was determined it needed to be banned. What has changed in the format? Because you can't pin it on individual cards. You can't say, well, that busted 2-mana creature is really not busted anymore because we have Fatal Push. Well, okay, that gives Black an answer. But what about every other color? It's much harder to make a case for why a card should be unbanned than for why a card should be banned. So, I personally, I like this approach more. You may disagree, and that's cool. We don't have to agree about everything. We don't have to agree about anything. But I think people need to give this shit a chance. And I did feel people needed to give Frontier a chance too, and people were pissing all over that. But this one has actual support. You know, it's been announced that these new Players Tour events, I don't even know what they are. Again, I haven't been really reading too many articles, so I'm mostly going off of what I've gleaned from people talking about on Twitter. God, that's a phrase you don't want to utter. But they've announced that at these new Player Tour events next year, that this format's going to be one of the formats involved. So it already has more support from WotC than Frontier ever did. Tannen and Ross talked about how, like, they want to see this replace Legacy in the SCG team events. And I think we're getting to the point where we do need to start looking at a replacement for Legacy. Because the barrier to entry in that format is insane. You know, you're talking mana bases that cost more than my fucking car. And, you know, else ain't too shabby. Ain't no beater. You know, when dual lands are thousands of dollars each, and you really need them to compete. You know, I've seen people talk about, oh, you know, shock lands are just as good. Cool, I will trade you my shock lands for your dual lands. Just for the event. I don't even mean permanently. You can retain your card value, and I promise you, I will take excellent care of them. But we'll register the same deck. I'll get everything else for it. I'll let you borrow my shock lands, you borrow my dual lands. Oh, you don't want to do that? Because it puts you at a massive disadvantage? Yeah, I know, right? Except in the case of Death Shadow, of course, Death Shadow does pretty well with the amount of shock lands, because that's kind of how Death Shadow works. But it also needs, like, other super high-end expensive cards. Legacy's getting too hard to enter, and a lot of it is because of the reserve list. And come at me if you want, but the reserve list was a bad answer to the wrong problem. And I will always maintain that. I know my history. They were addressing the wrong problem when they put out the reserve list. But short of the reserve list going away, your pool of Legacy players is getting smaller and smaller. It's like Vintage is dying out for the same reason. So, I don't know. I'd like to see this format become a thing. And, yeah, I will totally grant that a part of that is because I've been playing organized play, and up until the last couple of years, I was playing Standard all the time that this format spans. I've been playing, you know, Standard F&Ms pretty consistently since Innistrad. So, I have all this shit. Yeah, no, I'm all about it. But, you know, when Modern was first announced, it was barely bigger than Extended. And I can't say I know what the reactions people had to it back then were, but I don't know. I feel like it was probably pretty similar to what we're seeing now, because Magic players are professional fucking complainers. Myself included. I like to bitch about useless shit too. But in any case, decks I am excited about. Hardened Scales, first and foremost. Now, I am working on a list for Selesnya Hardened Scales. Mirror Match and Parker, also known as Sarkin the Bad on Twitter, both suggested I go Abzan so I can get Winding Constrictor, but I can't, because I'm already having trouble getting down to 60 cards made. You add another color in there, and you just open up a whole other world of possibilities. No, I can't do this. I can't handle more than 2 colors. I just want to play Mana Gorger Hydras again. I love that card. It's a crappy little Hydra. It's so cute. You are not Tarmogoyf. You are not an acceptable substitute for Tarmogoyf. But hey, guess what? This format doesn't have Tarmogoyf. Thinking about Black-White Warriors or possibly Black-White Vampires is one of the great advantages to me personally that they went back a little further than Frontier did in that Athreos will be in the format. I think I talked about that this morning. And I think it's a different style deck between the two, between Warriors and Vampires. But hey, both of them get to play Athreos as an insurance policy. I'm excited to see Mono Black Devotion again. Mono Green Devotion. Yeah, like I can't wait to see what people come up with. And again, I'm sure there's going to be some super busted shit in the beginning. Absolutely. People are going to start, most likely, at those decks with power levels that, you know, required significant bans from Standard. You know, like Aetherworks Marvel, like Saheeli Cat. You know, well, I guess Saheeli Cat goes off all at once. I was going to say, it's really hard to pull off Saheeli Cat combo when your cats keep turning into fucking elk, but it is pouring down rain and a dude just passed me on a motorcycle. Good luck, friend. Good luck. So, just give it time. That's all I'm asking. Give it some time. I do not remember which particular person I saw on Twitter. It was like either Sam Black or Ari Lax, who said basically if you don't think your deck deserves to be banned in Pioneer, why are you even playing it? Like, try to get shit banned. Push that envelope. And yeah, totally. I would rather see people do it out of the gate when they're keeping a close eye on everything, when they're watching for problems, then hold back. I mean, a Magic player's going to do what Magic players do outside of complaining, and that's try to figure out the most busted thing they can do with their deck. There are going to be a lot of us out there for the funds, though, out there to relive some glory days. Relive that awesome, super fun deck we played, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, whatever. I guess 10 years ago was too late. But, like, 4-color Rally, don't think that's going to be a thing. Because they preemptively banned the fetch lands. And I think that's a good thing. I think if you leave fetch lands in this format, one, it is unlikely they will ever reprint fetch lands back into Standard. I don't think it's because it's problematic. Because, honestly, if you do not have typed dual lands, fetch lands in Standard aren't a problem at all. Fight me. Like, I don't think they are even the smallest problem in a Standard without typed dual lands. The problem when they were in last time in cons is we had I guess we didn't have the shock lands. I don't think at first we had any type duels, did we? Because I remember seeing them and being like, these lands are stupid. And then we got the battle lands from BFZ, which definitely turned on the fetch lands in a very big way. Must have had something else, though. I feel like we had something else. Maybe not, though. Maybe that's why I played Orzhov Warriors in the front half of that Standard and Scales in the back half. Anyway, yeah, without type dual lands, fetch lands in Standard are fine. So why won't they ever print them into Standard again? Because they need bait cards to get people to pay 3 times as much for a booster pack. And that may sound really salty. It's not. I think the $7.99 a pack or whatever, like, I think the pricing on Modern Horizons was very fair. You know, reprints of more desirable cards, it's going to fetch a bigger price tag, and you got to incentivize them to do this. But, you know, box sizes were the same, and packs were like, I think MSRP on them was like $8 a pack. Most places were selling them for 10 because that's what people have been paying for Masters packs for, you know, past few runs. But yeah, I think 3 times the cost of a Magic standard booster pack really isn't that bad. Like, yeah, it's barrier to entry, and I get that. But WotC is a company that's driven by its ability to profit. I think there comes times where they've reached a little too hard, and it's a little too gouging for the community to be willing to accept. But I also think if you're going to charge 3 times the amount, I personally really feel like when they do master sets, before notice of the reprint, because of course a lot of cards tank in response to notice of a reprint, every mythic in the set should be worth at least the price of the booster pack. You know, you're playing a lottery trying to pull a mythic. Yeah, alright, you need to throw some bulk rares in it. I get it. Every card can't be straight value because then you're flooding the market with them, and then, you know, you're damaging your ability to profit off the next reprint set. But every mythic, like, don't put fucking bulk mythics in that shit, man. Please stop that. Because it really sucks when you just paid $10 for your booster pack and you see that fancy red symbol and you're like, oh sweet, it's fucking tree again. God damn it. No, I haven't gotten over the tree thing. I don't think many have. Or it's not even just like, oh, this is the worst mythic in the set. But like, this card is truly garbage. Nobody wants to play this fucking card. There was nobody asking for this card. So, yeah, I don't think they'll ever print fetch lands back in standard. We're already in a position where there are certain land cycles we only have one side of them. Most notably the pain lands. But I feel like the friendly pain lands haven't been reprinted since like Ice Age. I could be wrong about that, but it feels like it's been a fucking million years. So the pain lands, we only have the friendly side. I feel like there's another land type that we only have the friendlies, which makes your mana base a little more awkward, or can make your mana base a little more awkward. Luckily, we have the full set of shocks. We'll have the full set of temples, even though I hate the stupid temples. I don't like any land that can't enter the battlefield untapped. And also, I don't put much value on scrying. I understand that that's wrong of me, but that's how I see the world. But we'll have the canopy lands. I think we have both sides of the check lands, like the Sun Petal Grove style lands, isolated, chapel. So I mean, we got good mana bases to work with. You're not going to be stuck with monocolored bullshit because, you know, your mana base sucks. But having only one side of the fetches in, I think, is inherently bad. Also, I think if the fetches are in, it just feels like shitty Modern. Like, it doesn't feel like a different enough format. And, the last thing we need is another format putting demand on the supply of fetch lands out there. Because that seems to be a big part here, is they're looking for a non-rotating format with a reduced cost to entry, because Modern is pretty expensive, to get a top-tier competitive deck. So this, with the distance from when these cards were originally printed, and you figure a lot of the best cards, the Shocklands just got a reprint. Checklands are a little further out. No, they might be closer. Weren't they in Dominaria? Maybe? I don't know. In any case, doesn't really matter. The resources for this format are definitely more plentiful. Now, I'm not gonna front. I did snap by 2 playsets of Deathrite Shaman, because this will now be the only competitive format where it's legal. But this is one of those things where I definitely recommend you go listen to Tannen and Ross over on Pioneer Cast, or Cast Pioneer. Because they talked quite a bit about whether or not they think Deathrite Shaman will be good. And it's kind of a remains to be seen kind of thing. But without fetch lands, that dramatically reduces the effectiveness of that card. You're not generating as much extra mana. But I think he'll still have his uses, so I bought 2 playsets while they were relatively cheap, and they did seem to spike pretty hard yesterday. People could please put Treasure Cruise in every single blue deck they play and make those things worth money. Apparently we have 52 of them. And I bought up a second playset of Dig Through Time. We only had 5, one that's in our set of whatever the hell set that was in. And a playset that we retained. So I bought a second playset just so we have them. Oh, I'm actually kind of excited for Sultai Control again, with Ashiok and Garruk Apex Predator and Dig Through Time and Anticipate and all that sort of fun stuff. But I'm actually picking up pizza for dinner, so I'm at the pizza place now to pick it up. I'm really excited about Pioneer. I hope you are too. Just give it a chance, and it's okay to make it known that you think things are busted as you play against them, but give them time to sort it out. Anyway, later this week, hopefully tomorrow, but maybe even later than that, I'm gonna do my episode on KDM 1.5. But that's all I got for today. So, as always, if you made it this far with me, thank you very much for listening, and hopefully I'll talk to y'all some other time this week.